Hey, RBL Weekly, back on the air. We are officially entering the second half of the RBL season.
Woo!
The playoffs are right around the corner. For more information on that, stay tuned. RBL Commish on Instagram. 12 cities fighting it out to try to lay claim to the title of the best roasting city in the world, and the action continues here today. I'm Pat Barker, joined as always by Sarah Keller.
Hi.
How's it going?
It's really good. I went and saw Fall Out Boy last night in concert.
I saw that. I saw you were on your super emo
Yeah.
Newfound Glory.
I wanted to, Newfound Glory opened for them, which is bonkers because I saw them 20 years ago when it was the other way around. So I was reliving my teen angst, and it was awesome.
There are certain things that make me realize how old I am. Because in the comedy scene, like I just turned 40. And if I'm around a 30-year-old or a 50-year-old, to me, age isn't even a thing. We're all the same.
Yeah.
But there are certain things that make me realize, make me feel ancient. Like if anybody talks about Pokemon, I'm like, oh, I'm so old because I just missed that era. And the other thing is that era of music, the Fall Out Boy, the Newfound Glory. I didn't listen to any of that. I was too old by that point. I had like Green Day and a couple other things, but like I missed that entire, what's that, early to mid 2000s?
Yeah, like 2007 is when I went and saw Fall Out Boy with Newfound Glory.
Yeah.
That's interesting though, because like my boyfriend is 44, and he I have never seen him that like the only other time I've seen him that excited is the first time he saw my boobs. I should be angry at how happy you are right now.
Really?
So it's interesting.
Maybe it's not an age thing. Maybe that wasn't just my genre of me. I'm more of like a hip hop guy.
Did your parents love you?
Yeah, I think
that's
so.
probably why. You didn't relate to.
I got it. So it's very like angsty kind of.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Fuck you, mom.
Yeah.
You'll never be the boss of me.
Kind of.
That kind of shit.
Yeah.
I do remember. I would always kind of make fun of that music because who was the band? They had a song and it was just so whiny, and the chorus was just like, I'm sorry, I can't be perfect.
Yeah, that was Simple Plan.
Which is, oh my God, did that shit suck.
Same genre. Fall Out Boy, I will say, like, after seeing them again last night, like, really talented. The lead singer, very vocally talented. I was impressed and like, oh, okay, cool.
I've heard some of their shit on the radio. It's just not my preferred. Same, because now I'm thinking maybe it isn't an age thing, because I did grow up, I guess, with Blink 182.
Yeah.
And they just came to town like a month ago, and I've been spending way too much money recently. And my wife wanted to go, and like the cheapest tickets were like, I don't know, $200.
Yeah, that's.
And I was like, I can't do it for a band I don't care about. But it's like I don't dislike Blink 182. It just never was a thing for me.
Yeah.
You know,
it was definitely a type. Like you had to. It was definitely a style that was specific, and I happened to like it when I was that age.
Yeah. What did you before you jump into the battles? Yeah. The Blink 182 thing reminds me. So the submarine thing happened a couple weeks ago, right? And did you see the story about the billionaire who died on the submarine and his stepson?
No.
So there was a billionaire on there, and his stepson. There was that brief period where we didn't know that it imploded, and we thought it was just like at the bottom of the sea, and they were slowly dying.
Right.
And in that time, his stepson went to see Blink 182 and posted like a selfie on Instagram where he was like, I know this seems insensitive, but like my dad would want me to have fun and enjoy my life or something like that. And he got absolutely fucking roasted. But to me, yeah, I'm going to the concert.
Yeah, what the fuck? I'm supposed to just sit at home and cry? Like, no, you need to go out and be distracted.
Right.
Like,
if I was able to scuba to the bottom of the ocean and save him, maybe that's one thing.
Right.
But otherwise,
I can't do anything, and I want to be distracted.
Right.
Yeah. That seems like the healthiest thing to do mentally.
Yeah, he also
maybe don't post the picture. Maybe that's
he also was at that point tweeting at like OnlyFans girls and being like, "Come sit on my face." It was more than just that. The Blink 182 concert, I'm on your side.
Everything else.
While your dad is presumed dead and presumed suffering into death, don't ask anyone to sit on your face. Give that a week. There's got to be like a buffer.
At least not publicly.
Right. Keep that shit. You know what? You shouldn't ever publicly ask anyone to sit on your face. Now, regardless of your stepdad, if you have a stepdad, if he's alive, if he's dead, he's at the bottom of the ocean, he's just sitting over there. Don't publicly ask anyone to do that.
I fully support that.
Right.
Yep.
Keep that in the DMs. Okay. You want to watch some battles?
Yeah, let's do it. I hope somebody asks somebody to sit on their face.
Oh, if it's anything like our normal week, there will be a lot of material just like that. And we're coming out of the gates firing with one. I want to get your thoughts on this because I always like seeing your thoughts as it unfolds here. But I had a lot of trouble this week. The 5 battles, and frankly, maybe even like 7, were all pretty close for me. So I reached out to a few trusted opinions, and I sent the battles to them. And the ranking is the cumulative effect of a few different people today. And 2 of us had this battle ranked, and the third one not only didn't, but vehemently was against this battle. With points that kind of made sense when I rewatched it a second time. It didn't really hit me the first time, but then the second time I'm like, oh yeah, I can kind of see that. So I want to get your opinion on it. This is the number 5 battle this week. This comes to us from Chicago. This is Eric Emerson against Gabriel Alviso. Here it is.
1, 2, 3, roll! Hey, this is really exciting to be battling during Pride Month. It's a really important time for Eric. He actually came out of the closet. So make some noise for Eric for coming out of the closet. Hell yeah. Yeah. As a registered sex offender. So, yeah. Eric fucks kids because it's the only time that person thinks that he has a big dick.
Off to a slow start, Little Mermaid of the Rio Grande. Here we go. Here we go.
Let's fucking go. Let's go.
Hey, during the day, Gabe is a barista, but tonight the only bean getting roasted is him. Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Gabe is the Mexican you pick up at Home Depot when the construction site needs a lot of cappuccinos. That's who you go for.
I'm also the Mexican that fucks his girlfriend, so that's a lot of fun. Dude, I'm super excited to be battling Inspector Gadget's little nephew, Inspector Faggot.
Somebody said it.
Because he's a gay pedophile, so yeah.
Didn't really roll off the tongue there. That's okay. It didn't seem natural. It's Gabe is actually, he's part of the LGBTQ community. I guess you could say he's upside down question marking his sexuality. It's a bit of a thinker. That's funny. Gabe is pansexual, or I say Peter pansexual, because the lost boys he fucks never get to grow up.
Dude, Eric looks like if Woody from Toy Story was gonna shoot up a school. All right, I'm gonna shoot myself, so.
Well, he's the only one of 2 6-shooters. That'd be kind of, all right. Gabe looks like a drug dealer, but the deal is he gives you drugs and then he fucks you when you pass out.
Dude, you look like you have to eat Tums every time you finish eating pussy.
Your girl's pussy is spicy, dude. I got a little poblano in there.
Your girlfriend's pussy's a little too young, so that is. Yeah.
That's actually interesting you bring that up, because I got the receipts right here. Chris, who followed my girlfriend at 11:30 p.m. last night?
Me.
It's Gabriel Alviso.
Hey, so I followed his girlfriend at 11:30 p.m. last night. He followed my girlfriend home at 11:30 p.m. last night.
I'm actually not comfortable with a Mexican talking about the age of my girlfriend. Don't you guys throw weekend fuck-em parties when they hit 15? That's not good.
And he's the first one to show up, you fucking.
White people generally are on time. Even. Hey, Gabe's got the hair of a cartoon witch. Which is weird because the only curse in his life is every decision he's ever made. Gabe's spell goes like this. Eye of Newt, Hymen of Teen, make me the most annoying Mexican you've ever seen.
That was stupid. Eric looks like he's jealous of his dad because his dad gets to fuck his mom.
Gabe, you look like a migrant that DeSantis shipped up to Martha's Vineyard, except Gabe is loving it! The wine, the food, the nightlife, it's everything he wanted.
You look like underneath that shirt, you're wearing a shirt that says Wine Mom, so...
I don't know, you might not think Gabe's a very innovative comedian, but he's actually trailblazing. No one else has ever done Jesselnick's act with Shane Gillis's hands and Mateo Lane's gaping asshole. Oh, by the way, for reference, those are headliners. I work with them sometimes.
Cool. That hurt my feelings, you fucking dumb piece of shit. Eric looks like the first time he saw boobs, it was written on a calculator.
It'd be weird if I saw regular boobs before. All right, anyway. Gabe has a hobby. I mean, the calculator boobs come first chronologically, right?
You would correct a math joke, you fucking idiot. What a fucking... Eric's favorite sex position is 69ing because if you add up the numbers, that's the age of his girlfriend.
Hey, since we got Bobby over here, I think we could get the first pansexual on the YKWD podcast. Wouldn't that be great? We can call it the, you know what, dude, came in my ass last night.
I don't get it. I don't listen to the podcast. I'm sorry.
Neither do I.
I don't know if it's 7, but Eric looks like he's a fucking dumb piece of shit. So, are we not at 7? Fuck.
I think we're one more.
Okay.
We got one more.
Gabe's hobby, he is a graffiti artist. That's what he does in his spare time. He's actually once painted an entire train. That's right. Gabe tagged every black guy that's fucking his ex-girlfriend.
Okay, so that was the number 5 battle. Eric Emerson versus Gabriel Alviso. I'm not going to poison the well with my thoughts. I saw you furiously scribbling down notes as the battle went along. I'm curious as to your thoughts.
First, how many jokes was that supposed to be?
It's Chicago does 7 per battle.
Okay.
And I think especially when Gabe battles, because Gabe is very like
loose?
He will rebut everything, whether it's a written rebuttal or he just has something to say. They have a few guys like that who every time they battle, I feel like it's 15 jokes apiece.
Yeah.
And they lose count. The battlers have no idea. The host has no idea. Nobody ever seems to know. But in theory, it was 7.
Okay, because it was a lot. It seemed like a lot, not in a bad way, it was a long battle. It had everything. I mean, like every roast battle bingo square was covered.
Yep.
We all got bingo. It had our first roast battle spell, which was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun. I don't know which one of them is part of the LGBTQ community, if any, but there was a lot of that happening. Okay, now get into the real nitty gritty of it. Okay, I feel like the well was a little poisoned because I didn't want to know who didn't pick this battle at first, and I didn't speak up fast enough. So now knowing, and I respect that person's opinion, not that anyone else's.
We talked about it off camera.
Yeah, we talked about it off camera. That I'm like, oh, I probably would agree with that person. So I might be a little biased towards not liking the battle. However, that being said, I was not impressed out the gate, and then that probably helped solidify the...
Well, you don't know why this person didn't care for the battle.
True. Personally, I thought they had a lot of fun with each other, and they had really great back and forth. I thought that was great. They were clearly having fun. They both were good sports towards each other, which I really enjoyed. I thought the battles covered 2 subjects.
Yeah.
Gay pedophiles and race. And I just looked at those 2 dudes and wrote 7,000 jokes just based on their dumb faces.
Right.
So it felt kind of lazy. That being said, their jokes were good. I've heard some of them, maybe parallel thinking, maybe they heard them also, but I've definitely heard some of them before. So that's I really enjoyed the white people are generally on time. That made me laugh very hard. That was a great off the cuff.
Very funny.
I liked the Tums joke, which I feel weird even pointing out because it is a setup that you and I have discussed.
But I am of the opinion, and I think it's holier than thou to be like, no more jokes about this
100%.
thing
They've
under
never done
any
it.
circumstances. No. It's got nothing. Those are both veterans. And Eric Emerson, by the way, I want to say this. I saw another battle of his this week that we did not watch on the pod. It just dropped on YouTube. Him versus Bob Keane. And I would recommend everybody go and watch that one as well. He dominates that battle. He dominated this battle. Eric Emerson is one of my favorite people out of Chicago. I obviously love Gabriel Alviso. When Chicago guys, when they came to LA a few months ago, he battled at the Comedy Store and at Jam in the Van and was excellent in both. So these are people that I'm a fan of. But I think there are valid criticisms for this particular battle. And the point I was gonna make is, like, I don't ever want to say, like, no more jokes about this.
Right.
Or no more jokes using this setup. And in that case, the setup was, you look like when you eat pussy, and then the remix we always hear is a different condiment.
Right.
You won't eat pussy without barbecue or ranch or whatever on it. And then he flipped it with the Tums thing.
Which I loved.
I loved as well.
I thought it was a really nice, fresh take on that old thing. And when I said they've never done it before, I meant they haven't said that joke before.
Got it.
Might not even have heard that setup before. We don't know.
Right.
So that's why I feel weird saying it, because I feel like normally I would be like, fuck that joke forever, but I genuinely enjoyed it. I thought it was a great twist. Can't believe nobody else has thought of that again, so I liked that joke a lot.
Yeah. I agree. We're on the same page with this. I just sometimes I worry that I don't ever want to come across like, oh, don't ever do this or that. Anything can be done, any topic can be done, as long as it's creative and funny. Now, obviously, when something's been done a million times, the bar for creative and funny gets a lot higher.
100%.
Which brings us to kind of the criticism of this battle. And your note was consistent with what this other person said in terms of topics, in terms of angles. It was very sort of one note. And these battles that are 7 jokes, in the case of New York, sometimes 13 jokes, when you have so many jokes and you just keep hitting pedophile, secretly gay, people fuck his girlfriend, I fuck his girlfriend, he fucks his girlfriend, but she's also a child.
Yeah.
Like, there were a lot of variations of the same thing, and when this person brought that up to me, I guess I didn't even notice. I've seen so many of these battles, I'm just like, whatever. I didn't even pick up on it. And I watched it back. I'm like, damn, you're right. And I was like, you know what? But we all do that. And then I started going through my sort of catalog of 46 battles. And I started, like, trying to narrow down all the times I've done pedophile jokes against somebody who I know is not a pedophile, or rapist jokes or whatever. And I found 3 in 46 battles. And then you watch one like this and there were like 9 in the battle. And I know sometimes it can be hard to find different things to talk about. I totally get it. The reason I think it's worth having this conversation in this battle is because I'm such a fan of both these guys. And I've seen both of them absolutely destroy. So, my standards maybe for them are a little bit higher than if it was 2 people I've never seen before. And then I would
100%.
be like, whatever. But because I know these guys are both outstanding, you just hope for a little bit more. Eric had a couple of big hits with some of that material. I mean, the quinceañera joke saying, you guys throw we can fuck 'em parties.
Yep, I wrote that down. That was chef's kiss. And then he followed it with the white people are on time. And I was like, well done, sir.
Right. And right before that, he pointed out that Gabe had followed his girlfriend on Instagram the night before, which was, I don't know what the thinking is by doing. I don't know if Gabe did it so he could have that.
I feel like he did.
So he could do the, he followed my girlfriend home. Maybe. I mean, whatever it was nothing was working for Gabe. Gabe was just, he was, fighting for his life up there.
Yeah.
And I think we've all been there where it's just not going well and you're just trying whatever. And it's not improved. I mean, this was a pretty decisive victory for Eric. I overall I didn't dislike the battle. I think it's properly ranked at number 5. There were a lot of big laughs in there.
Oh yeah, that crowd was eating it up.
Crowd's outstanding. I'm going to be in Chicago in a couple weeks, July 20th. I'll be out there to judge. I cannot wait. I really want to experience that room and those battlers because I love the Chicago scene. But yeah, definitely in this one, it seems like the note going around is maybe about 80% less pedophile stuff.
And I think, the reason it stands out is because they both were doing it. If it had been one again and the other one hadn't, it wouldn't have been as pervasive.
Yeah.
But when you're, in any battle, if you're both going at each other for the same topic, it's going to get boring real quick.
That's a great point. There was a lot of, well, you called me a pedophile, but you're an even bigger pedophile.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, funny that you mentioned that because you're the biggest pedophile of all.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, that's when you call an audible and you reverse strategies because you can't both be pedophiles. Like, we don't believe that.
Well, you can. It's
you
comedy.
Can be, but like,
it's comedy. I think statistically speaking, you pull two guys out of any comedy club, there's at least like a 20% chance that they're both pedophiles. That's possible.
Fair.
But I'm saying, unless, how about this? If you haven't seen your opponent fuck a child, maybe pump the brakes on the pedophile material just a little bit.
Yeah.
Is that a fair rule? I think that's fair. All right. And if you have, don't roast battle them. Call the police.
Yes, 100%, please.
Yeah. I didn't feel like I needed to say that part, but maybe I do. Yeah.
I think it's good you covered it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it could hurt.
Right. Yeah. If in case it wasn't implied, call the police on that. Don't start writing down your hot 5 pedophile jokes and then challenge them to a battle. Get the authorities involved. Okay, number 5 this week, Chicago. We move on now to a city that just had a pretty big accomplishment earlier this week. On Friday, the Denver roast battle made its debut at the Improv. They've been running in this bar, sort of a colorful kind of like backdrop for the battles. Maybe not the most conducive to good sound and video, but great crowds, a lot of fun. And now they moved up to the big leagues. They made their Improv debut. I'm looking forward to seeing that footage when they get around to editing it. But in the meantime, this is a battle from a couple weeks ago from Denver, featuring their new champion, Evan Joe, who won the title at the Improv in the tournament finals. This was his semifinal round against Joe McKenna. It's number 4 this week. Here it is.
Before we begin, I gotta ask the question we're all wondering. Evan, do the carpets match the drapes? And by that I mean, are your pubes also greasy and filled with Dorito dust?
Yeah, your mom loves Doritos. I don't know what Joe, you freelance gynecologist. You look like Freddie Mercury's reflection in above-ground pool water.
Evan has a lot of bad habits, kleptomaniac, smokes PCP. He's been overindulging in his bad habits lately. This month he took a tolerance break from marijuana and fetishizing Asian women.
That's right. I'm a kleptomaniac. You can tell because I'm stealing the show. Believe it or not, that wasn't the joke, but Joe actually works at a school, because hey, someone's got to teach those special ed kids about sex.
It's okay, Evan, your teachers aren't going to abandon you like your father did. Evan's dad did leave him when he was about a teenager, and it left Evan so depressed. In fact, you look so depressed you can't even do laundry. Right now he's wearing the same socks he comes in.
Damn. Oh, fucking good one, boner breath. I actually had a few of Joe's students help me write jokes tonight. They were a little confused at first because apparently Joe McKenna is a stage name. Yeah, they told me that his real name is Mr. Ugly Poopy Pants McGee. They also said that he looks like he kisses posters of John Stamos before leaving the house. All right, the kids wrote those ones, so that's okay.
Evan kind of looks like a sleep paralysis demon if your biggest fear was a world without dentists. Wait, I'm sorry. Do you guys smell that? Does it smell like horse? Is that your big ass fucking gums?
Wow.
Jesus.
Wow. I can't. Do the parents know that you do this? Yeah. You look like you only teach the wrong side of history. No, all jokes aside, I don't want to get you in trouble. Joe is a great teacher. You know, whether he's helping solve problems in the classroom or he's watching the kids in recess through blinds from across the street while licking a knife. Oh, remember the beginning? Wasn't that better?
You know, Evan kind of looks like he got gender-affirming healthcare at a Jiffy Lube. He also looks like the first transphobic trans woman.
Yeah. Coming from a guy that gets his mustache trimmed at Grease Monkey, that doesn't mean much. Doesn't mean much. Joe, you hack, preach, and sack, reach, and math teaching bastard. You're a rich, white, well-groomed, motorcycle-riding, Bostonian comedian. You're as pretentious as it gets. I would call you a douche, but you stink, pussy.
That was incredible. There's something about Denver that I don't know what it is.
Drugs.
Yes.
It's drugs.
But like every time it's just fun.
Yeah.
I just have a good time.
Yeah.
Every time I watch a Denver battle, even when it is pretty one-sided, and maybe that's just me, but I felt like Evan is the
With the hair?
curly, yep.
Yeah.
Pretty handedly stomped Joe. That being said, I really liked Joe's opening joke, the Dorito dust in the pubes. I mean, I love a joke that paints a picture for me. And I really liked Joe's joke about the gender reaffirming at Jiffy Lube.
Yes.
Great joke.
That was my favorite joke of the battle.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Evan's freelance gyno, Freddie Mercury in above ground pool was my favorite joke. I love every single bit about it. It, like, the specificity, the layers, the detail. It was just, to me, absolute perfection. Like, it kept getting better with every single word, which is such a great joke. Like, clearly Evans is using his community college creative writing degree because his detail in his jokes is great. I loved the boner breath joke. Like, okay, first, just boner breath made me laugh because it was so fucking stupid. Then to like follow it up with, oh, your kids wrote that joke, I was like, incredible. And then he followed it up with an even dumber joke, and yes. I absolutely loved it. He did add one more joke after that I was like, you could have just left it at, oh no, that's not, he qualified it as, again, of like, oh, well, his kids wrote that. I'm like, no, just leave it. It was perfection. Like,
right.
I really enjoyed that. I thought Evan had a lot more fun with the jokes and within the jokes.
That's the one.
Joe had great fun. He had two incredible jokes, but Evan, to me, just had a lot more fun jokes in there.
Yeah, I mean, Evan reminds me a little bit of Casey Rocket from Austin, in that, you know, they're just kind of squirrely, tough to get a hold of.
Yeah.
Like, if you're, you know what I mean? Like the video of Muhammad Ali dodging like 30 punches in like 9 seconds. Like, that's kind of how Evan is to me, where it's like you can't land a solid shot on him because he's just moving around so much. Not physically, but in terms of like, he's very good at diffusing things. The kleptomaniac,
yeah.
I'm stealing the show. I mean, he literally like stole all the momentum in that moment with like a little goofy, like off the cuff kind of thing that didn't even insult his opponent.
Yep.
But he's so likable and entertaining and enjoyable that it's really hard for somebody to connect solidly with a punch, I feel like.
Yeah.
You know, Joe had the beginning and the end. His first and his last jokes were incredible.
Yep.
As I said
So
before, his last joke was my favorite one of the night. But even Evan was able to offset that a little bit with the Jiffy Lube thing he came back with. You look like you get your mustache trimmed at Grease Monkey, which is like, you know, it's not an A+, but it's enough to like, you know, sort of alleviate some of the damage done on the previous one. Evan, I thought, was in control for most of the battle.
Yeah.
I thought Joe kind of threw the Hail Mary at the end
100%.
and connected with it. It wasn't
Yes.
quite enough. But I understand why Evan is their champion. I mean, I'll say this. I fell in love with Evan Joe the moment we watched a battle on here, and his opponent's first joke was something about, like, Evan looks like the troll that you have to answer his riddles to get into a hot topic or something like that, and Evan was just like, wow, I asked you not to make any troll at a hot topic jokes. And it was the funniest thing I'd ever, like, the way he disarmed his opponent. I was like, how in 10 years has nobody ever done that?
Yeah.
And I just thought it was brilliant the way that he did that. So I'm a big fan of Evan. I'm a big fan of Denver in general. They have been, every rep that they've sent to the mothership in Austin so far has been killing it. Jake Tupizza, Adam Gilliland this most recent time. Evan will be out there sooner rather than later. I feel pretty confident saying that. I really like what they're doing, and I do like how fun it is, because that is ultimately what we're doing here. It is a comedy show. It is competitive. There's a competitive aspect to it, but it's always better when it's fun, and there are very few people in the league right now having as much fun as Evan Joe.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. Both great joke writers.
So
Joe
good.
McKenna also having a great season. I think he's 3-1 so far, made the semifinals of their tournament. Big fan of his work as well. But congrats to Evan Joe, the first ever Denver Roast Battle champion. Congrats to the Denver boys for doing the improv. That's big. And I'm looking forward to seeing more out of them for sure. Let's keep it moving right now and go to the number 3 battle. This one is very interesting in terms of sort of storyline. This comes to us from London, but it actually features a Russian against a Ukrainian, which is just perfect.
Are we solving the world problems right now?
Let's watch the battle before we give ourselves too
shit.
much credit. This is the number 3 battle this week. This is from London. This is Dmitry Bakanov versus Helen Kay. Here it is.
All right. So, I am Russian and Dmitry's Ukrainian. So this battle's gonna take a while. Dmitry often shaves his head, which hides his boldness but reveals his racism. When he shaves his head, he looks like a member of the English Defense League. Of course, if he were capable of defending anything, he'd be back in Ukraine.
Good, very good. So, Helen is Russian, which is why she took the first shot. I will remind people that this is my side of the stage, and if she comes over, I reserve the right to use violence. I've never met her before, but here are the facts that she sent me about herself. She said she's a hilarious up-and-coming comedian who's taken the British comedy scene by storm with her sharp wit, extreme likability, and sex appeal. I haven't read propaganda that good since Russia.
If that was written by me, it would be better. All right. Well, I think you guys should know the truth. It's only recently Dmitry started marketing himself as a Ukrainian Canadian, because he's only 50% Ukrainian, and he's 50% Russian. And 100% a deserter. I hope you don't mind me exposing you to this crowd. I know you prefer to expose yourself to children.
That was a random paedophile joke thrown in there, but that's fair enough. Okay, Helen, she moved from Russia, like, long before it was popular. The reason she moved to the UK is because the UK is a much more liberal society, so she's very free to identify as fuckable over here.
Dmitry broke up with his last girlfriend because she wouldn't do enough threesomes, which is not a problem for his current girlfriend. Hopefully, with the next girlfriend, Dmitry remembers to make sure he's part of the threesomes.
Cool, that was great. That was worth waiting for. Helen's got severe depression, severe clinical depression. She actually refuses to have it treated because that's the only thing that justifies her personality.
Dmitry has been doing stand-up for 8 years. He performs all around the country, which is comedian for Couldn't Hack It in London. In his day job, Dmitry works in healthcare. Joining the NHS during COVID was the only way for him to get applause.
Helen's a consultant who, according to her LinkedIn, works for the NHS as well. Apparently, she's worked on, what was it? Oh yeah, she looked into patient backlogs and capacity constraints across the NHS, which means she's fucking this country as well. That was just a comeback, but let me do that. Yeah, that didn't work, so fuck it. Helen's told me that she's got multiple eating disorders because of her mum, because of all the body shaming that she did. And honestly, looking at Helen, I get her point. Just because you're shaped like a bag of potatoes doesn't mean you should eat one.
You just lost this battle. One of the judges is Irish. Dmitry didn't go to university, and now he manages a GP practice, which really goes to show that you don't need a higher education to tell people there are no available appointments.
Helen's told me she's 25% Jewish, which actually means that she's so anti-Semitic that she doesn't have an eating disorder. She's just trying to starve the Jew out of herself.
Dmitry is only 13% Jewish, which explains why he's 13% knows.
Anti-Semitic.
Okay, so a lot of fun. I wouldn't say we solved the Russia-Ukraine conflict.
No.
Through that battle. Halfway through, I was like, we're on our way.
Yeah.
But I think that it was shaping up to be a classic about halfway through. And then I feel like it couldn't quite keep up that pace. But overall, really fun, entertaining battle. I enjoyed it. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought the same thing. They started to lose me at the free healthcare jokes. I was like, yeah, I don't.
Not relatable at all.
Don't understand. So you're telling me that you're both employed and have healthcare? Go fuck yourself.
Seriously.
In all, like, jokes aside, that is when I felt the battle start to lose its momentum. At first, I was like, fuck, this battle is incredible. Like,
yeah.
Both of them coming out the gate, addressing the Ukraine-Russia thing, and in creative, like, dominant ways. One of the notes I wrote is I really admire Helen's strategy because she was in a very hard position, because roast battle is for underdogs. People want the fucking underdog to win, and you don't get more underdog than the Ukraine and Russia right now. Like it.
Yes.
And so for her to just come out fucking swinging and being like, yeah, I understand this, is a great strategy. And I cannot understate how difficult of a position she was in. Even for me, I'm like, oh, I have to go for Dmitry. You know?
But then she also threw out that he is 50% Russian.
Right. And then I was like, oh, go fuck yourself, Dmitry. Like,
I mean, that was a chess move for sure.
Yeah.
And it was a great joke, the 50% Russian, 100% deserter.
yes.
I loved everything about the first couple of jokes when he talked about, like, he read her bio. And then he said the best piece of Russian propaganda. That was great.
The identify as fuckable joke
Outstanding.
was great.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of notes here. Number one, on the subject of Helen Kay. I did a little bit of sort of research into our previous episodes, and I wanted to sort of categorize, like, who we've been featuring the most. And it's not what you might expect, but Helen Kay has appeared on more episodes this season of RBL Weekly than any battler in the world.
What?
This is her 4th appearance on the show. This is the 16th week of the season.
Hell yeah, girl.
Which means 25% of the time our battles feature one of the top 5 in the world features Helen Kay. So there's something to be said for that. I don't think she's the best battler in the world, and I think she's probably, I don't have her record in front of me, but I think she's probably won or lost more than she's won. But there's something to be said for somebody who is always consistent and entertaining and, always kind of puts on a show. And, as the numbers would suggest, she is definitely one of those people. So congratulations to Helen, because that's really cool to get on 4 times. I mean, most battlers haven't even done 4 battles since March, let alone 4 that could be classified as one of the best in the world that week. So congrats to her. One general thing I had about London, and I think it's because their humor is so much more dry and acerbic, perhaps. I feel like, I'm not sure I used that word correctly.
$10 word.
We're gonna check it out. I might have, as soon as I said it, I'm like, I might have just made that word up. But I feel like a lot of times their battles have a lot of trouble maintaining momentum. I said this to somebody when we watched this battle, and I was comparing notes with one of the other people that I sent it to. Every London battle does not feel like a battle as much as it feels like 10 little battles inside of the battle. Like, every joke is its own battle, and then the scoreboard wipes to 0, and we start again on the next joke.
Yeah.
And this one, the first couple turns, I felt like that ping pong, kind of the momentum because of the Russia-Ukraine thing. But then it kind of went back into the London thing where it's like joke, laugh, stop, reset, joke, stop, reset. And I don't know what it is. It's not a bad thing. It's just something I notice a lot, especially compared to like a Denver or something like that, where it feels like, it's like this tennis match going on. London does not feel that way to me. Does that make sense?
100%. I wonder if it has to do with the pacing, because London the battlers there seem to take their time a lot with joke delivery, and with joke writing. There's more to the joke. They're slower on the delivery. They don't seem to pounce right after the next person's joke like other places do. Maybe they're just like a patient people. But I think that probably has to do with it. Is like we're so used to the and they're just like, nah, you're gonna fucking wait for me.
And I respect it. I think a lot of it is like in LA or, insert other city here. If your opponent misses, there is an opportunistic part of you that's like, I need to jump at this moment and take the momentum. And London is just kind of like, why bother? I'll get there when I get there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool. It's tough sometimes to compare them to other cities when I'm ranking the battles, because a lot of times I'll have to watch London a couple times, because at first, I'm sort of just getting the vibe, and the vibe is like, oh, it feels kind of dry. It feels like there's like some dead air. And then you watch it back and you realize like, no, it's really not. The jokes are connecting at the same rate as other cities. They're just moving through it at that different pace.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's it. And this was the first time I've seen Dmitry And he was great.
So good.
Really outstanding joke writer. A lot of fun. Obviously they were aided by the Russia-Ukraine thing, but, we've seen a bunch of Helen. I would like to see more of Dimitri and kind of see what he can do. And go up against some of the top London battlers that we've seen a lot of, the Joseph Murphys, the Duffy Connors, the Shalaka Kurups, all those people. I would like to... You would know them if you saw them.
No, I'm just laughing at how British all of those names sounded. Just fucking, like, if you were going to pull Brits out of a hat, you just did,
Yeah,
like...
Duffy Connors, especially.
Right? Like...
Yeah. He seems like a character, like, that name is like, oh, you mean the kid from Oliver Twist?
Yes. Or, like, Paddington Bear's best friend, like, for sure.
I assume you knew. We'll get off of this. I was about to bring up. You guys aware of the bear? Mickey in Tokyo. Mickey Mouse has a bear best friend that's named Duffy.
Oh.
And I had no idea that was a thing until we went to Tokyo Disneyland, and there was Duffy shit everywhere. And I'm like,
every
Duffy?
store is that.
And then I looked into Duffy's backstory, and he's from Cape Cod.
I forgot that was his name. What?
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Duffy the bear is from Cape Cod, so it's this thing that only exists in Japan. And they're like, we got to give him a background. Let's say he's from
the whitest place in America.
That I can't imagine you grow up in Tokyo and you know or care what Cape Cod is. It seems so
incredible. I didn't know his name. I forgot his name was Duffy, but
yeah.
Anyway,
good battle. All right, moving on.
It's my favorite.
I didn't know what else to say.
Oh,
good battle.
perfect.
Great job, London. On top of the international standings, they've been delivering all season, and they did it again. So let's keep it moving now. Go to the number 2 battle this week. This one comes to us from Los Angeles, and it features the president of the Bay Area Division, Josh Means, taking a trip down the 5 to battle John Luna, one of our top guys around here. And they had a hell of a battle. Let's check it out.
All right.
All right, one more time for Ralphie Cinco de Mayo. John has psoriasis. What do John's skin and women have in common? They're both doing everything they can to get away from him.
The psoriasis means I have more skin. Okay. Like I have extra skin.
Yeah, your t-shirt size has more X's than you do.
Okay. That hurt. Before, when we're like gonna battle and stuff, we usually like ask each other questions about each other, get to know each other. Take your birth control, okay.
He would know he's pregnant.
Yeah, I forgot. Don't forget. Okay. So I just want to read what Josh sent me. Josh said, I smoke weed nonstop. That's about it. Drink. I do, and I guess I've been doing mushrooms recently. Anyway, got divorced last year. Love to play basketball and then spend most of the rest of the time with my 2 kids. But I think the saddest part about Josh's life is that he likes it. You know?
All right, let me bring up what John said then. John said, I play Quidditch. People like to joke about that. I knew it would take magic to get you to play a sport.
Okay.
He needs 2 brooms. One to fly and one to clean the stadium afterwards.
Yeah, I'm fat. Okay. I'm fat, but, this is what happens when your parents, unlike you, can afford to feed their kids, you know?
All right. Good one, Chloroform the Explorer. He's like Dora if she only went exploring for diabetes.
Is she? Can someone tell Josh that Rumspringa is over? Can we? If you don't know, Rumspringa is when Amish kids go on spring break, do something real crazy, you know? Josh looks like he goes on Rumspringa just to play Dungeons and Dragons.
John's mom is white, so it's no wonder part of his, or sorry, John's mom's a cop, so it's no wonder his skin is turning white. He's Mexican white, and it's funny, he's shaped like the Taco Bell.
Everybody give it up for Ron Weezing, okay? Josh looks like Fry if his Futurama involved losing his kids in the divorce.
Good one, Donkey Show Kong.
Okay. Thank you, Hitler Youth, if they continued with the inbreeding.
John, it's funny, you're fat, you have psoriasis. Your biggest weakness outside of your knees is with scales.
Josh has been doing comedy for 7 years, which is the curse from that mirror is almost up, so that's good.
Doesn't John look like the genie that comes out when you rub a lotion bottle?
Okay, so that was the number 2 battle this week. Josh Means versus John Luna. Consistent the whole way through from Josh. Josh took the win. Bigger crowd reactions from Josh overall. John Luna had one of my favorite jokes I've heard in a long time, and I want to talk about that, but I'm going to let you take it away first. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, very solid battle. I love these two and have seen them perform in some of the best battles ever. So this one, just for that, was a little underwhelming to me because I expect so much from them. That being said, what the thing I did write down is like they're both such incredible performers.
Mm-hmm.
John, with the joke about what Josh sent him, delivered that joke perfectly.
That's the one. Oh God, did I love that joke?
I want to know how much of it was word for word what Josh wrote.
I would bet 100%.
I think so too, which is why I wanted to highlight John's performing abilities so much, because somebody else could take that exact joke and not make it as fucking perfect as it was in that moment.
He nailed everything on that joke. He
Flawless.
could have just let it sit just reading the information, which would have been funny enough, but then to tag it with the saddest part about Josh's life is that he likes it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
that one hit me here. And to quote him directly and be like, weed, drinking. Mushrooms.
I just got divorced.
Divorced. Basketball.
Children.
If I get around to it.
What a fucking journey.
Oof. I mean, yeah, that was that was a lot. Perfectly done.
Also, a perfect way to set your audience to fucking hate Josh. Because you're like, you piece of shit, you wrote that? Like, and I fucking love Josh. I think he's just incredible. So that the strategy from John to like immediately be like, this guy's a piece of shit and you should hate him was I just loved it.
So one interesting thing that I feel like we should address, and I might not have even noticed it were it not for a key moment in the battle. So when I watched this battle the first time, it was from a different camera, it was from a different angle, and it felt a lot more like everything's connecting. You know what I mean? And then I watched it back here, and it didn't feel as much that way, and I found out why. It's because it's a different audio source. So we took the audio directly from the soundboard for this copy we watched. I watched sort of the raw, which it was more of like the crowd. I might not have even noticed except for the part where, and I have to say this because it's going to come across weird on the pod, when John said to a woman in the crowd, seemingly randomly, take your birth control.
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
In the middle of him telling his joke, her alarm went off on her iPhone.
Oh, brilliant.
And he addressed that and said, take your birth control. And then Josh countered it in the moment and said he would know he's pregnant. And it was this great sort of moment that when I watch it back here, I'm like, why didn't that connect? Also, why didn't I hear the alarm? And then it made sense because this is just the audio directly from the mics. So I feel the need to explain that. And I feel the need to put that sort of like asterisk on there, because watching it back now, you know, if I had seen this the first time, and I was there when this happened, I judged it. But if I had watched it back the first time and seen this, I would have been like, man, maybe it wasn't as good as I remember, because the crowd's just not reacting. And it felt like that night they were really reacting. And then watching it back now, I'm like, oh, I totally understand why.
Okay, and then maybe that's why it felt
I think so.
underwhelming to me, because I liked their stuff, but it just felt like, okay, no, there's nothing happening in the room, so like maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah,
you know.
No, the reactions to John's opener, everything with the alarm going off on the phone.
Yeah,
and then Josh's first joke about Quidditch. First of all, for Josh to be able to, in the moment, try to turn that into a rebuttal where he's like, let me read what he wrote. And then he was obviously going to do the Quidditch joke anyway, but he did that and gave the illusion of like, okay, this is a rebuttal kind of thing. And then he had the double punch of like, it would take magic to get you to play a sport, and then you have 2 brooms, one to clean up the stadium after, was really masterful. I mean, everything in the first couple jokes of the battle from both sides was outstanding. And in the room was, you know, lighting up, and then it wasn't coming across so much on that. So that's why I feel the need to address that. Now, from that point on, it was solid. I think that was the peak, that exchange, that back and forth. But what a peak it was. Really good.
Okay, that makes sense. Because when you explained to me the birth control thing, I was like, that's fucking brilliant. And I can't believe the room is not exploding right now.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that he came up with that off the cuff, that should have broken the room. Because you know he didn't. There's no possible way he could have pre-written that.
Right.
You know? Like, so, yeah. I take back my underwhelming thing. It was the audience's reaction sounded underwhelming to me.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, the Quidditch, like, the jokes, everything was on paper supposed to be perfect. And
it's tough sometimes, because you would think we've seen enough where we could see beyond the audience reaction and just see the jokes. But me too. Me too. A hot crowd changes the entire dynamic of the battle.
Especially because when it's one like this where all the jokes are original and new, and I'm like, oh, I'm wrong. I think it's funny and it's not.
Right,
you know?
yeah.
When it's the other side, like maybe with some of the, not Denver, but like, what was the first battle? Chicago, where that crowd was exploding, and I'm like, eye roll, you know, and like, so my brain just totally.
It's okay.
stopped.
But I totally get what you're saying, and I say that as somebody who sits down every week and watches 8 to 10 battles with the goal of determining which one is better than the other. And that's why sometimes I have to outsource it and get second opinions. That's why sometimes I have to watch the battles 2-3 times, because, you know, we live in an attention span deficit society, right? So I know I'm not the only one, but when I sit down to watch 10 battles, it's very hard for me to maintain focus every time. So sometimes you zone out for 30 seconds, you hear the crowd going nuts, and you're like, damn, this battle's fucking fire. And then you watch it back, and you're like, oh, they were going nuts at something that sucked. Or vice versa. You hear the crowd not reacting, and then you watch it back, you're like, man, they're sleeping.
What's happening?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's really maybe unfair how much the crowd and the audio of the crowd and everything can sway the opinion one way or the other, because watching it back, it wasn't hitting the same way, but in the room it was. First time I watched it on video, it was. Josh was hitting consistently. John had a couple of slip-ups. I felt like it was still pretty close going into the last joke, and then John had the 7 years mirror, which kind of felt like he forgot the joke maybe a little bit.
Yeah,
or didn't
it felt
nail
like
the
it
wording.
Just ended.
Yeah.
Like there should have, like maybe there was more to it.
Right. It seemed like he was kind of like struggling up there a little bit at that point. But, you know, I mean, overall, John is one of the best and one of the most creative, and that's what I really like about him, is in a sport where you see so many people copying formulas that have worked before, you kind of have... I have more respect for people who are at least trying to do something that I haven't seen before.
Yeah.
And sometimes you won't nail it, because it's a lot more difficult to try to discover unfound land or whatever than just going to a popular vacation spot.
Yeah.
It's a lot more difficult, and sometimes you won't pull it off. And you end up in a crushed submarine at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah,
but it was worth the try.
sometimes you tell a Christmas poem in an elf costume and it doesn't work. There's no video of that.
That moment is going to live.
So no one can.
We have audio though, right?
I mean, I probably have it recorded somewhere, but then it's just sad if you can't see how sad it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, audience. You're just gonna have to take my word
That
for my
moment is
spectacular
going to
failure.
live rent free in your head for the rest of your life.
I'm like weirdly proud of it.
You shouldn't be.
No, but like,
No,
yeah,
I was
no.
there. You should be sad.
Not of the
and
moment
ashamed.
of the failure. I'm like weirdly proud of how
because you-
spectacularly I failed.
Okay, I get that.
Yeah. Like I wear it as a badge of honor.
I get that.
Yeah, dude, I ate a big dick. Like I'm so proud of that.
One of the biggest ever in roast
In
battle.
roast battle history, like
just because of the duration.
Oh, it was
how
so
long
long.
it took to eat the dick.
I made them
over several sittings.
Just so many. I made the audience suffer as long as possible.
It's like you ate the dick for breakfast, but then saved leftovers for lunch and dinner, and then the
100%.
next night too.
Yeah.
Like you were just wrapping that dick up in Tupperware so you could come back and continue eating it later. Like most roast battle bombs take 2 seconds, and you're like, I have 32 bars, and I'm gonna get them all out.
Yep. Look, I wanted to try something new, and that was to see
I respect
how
it.
long I could fail for.
I respect it. Nicely done. Congratulations. And congratulations to Josh and John for a great battle. And that brings us to number 1. Now, this is another battle. We talk about kind of how the perception of something is in the room versus the perception of it on tape. This is a battle we were both there for. This comes to us from Tokyo. This is the final entry on RBL Weekly of the Roast Fest event. The only battle that we didn't get to highlight was yours. It was very one-sided. The good news is you won.
I was like, wait, which side? You need to tell people.
The good news is you beat the shit out of a man. The bad news is it didn't make for a super compelling battle here. Now, this is the battle that went last. So it followed Paige's battle, which we saw a few weeks ago, all-time classic.
Yeah.
Followed my battle, which was very good. And then this one in the room, I thought it felt a little bit underwhelming. And then I watch it back, I'm like, damn, this was a great, great battle. This was really good. And I'm glad I got to see it again to appreciate maybe some things that I missed the first time. I was also in a post-battle fog.
Yeah.
You know how that is. And I sent this to all the people that I kind of like collabed with this week, and this was a unanimous number 1.
All right.
So this is Greg Roque from Los Angeles taking on Evans Masoka. It is the number 1 battle this week. It comes to us from Tokyo. Here it is.
Battle!
I've got a bone to pick with Evans, and I'm not talking about the one that usually goes through his nose. Evans was raised in one of the poorest slums in Kenya. Growing up, he was so poor, the only thing he inherited from his dad was his HIV.
I actually feel guilty roasting Greg tonight because my family is starving in Africa while I'm in Tokyo here just roasting a vegetable for fun.
Leave it to the Kenyan to talk about the food he can't eat. Evans has been on TV quite a lot. You might recognize him as the kid you can feed for pennies a day. But Evans is surprisingly a picky eater. You know, he won't eat anything unless it has a seal of approval, or as we like to call it, the UNICEF label.
You like your shoes, Greg. Actually, if you guys don't know, yeah, he just wears them just like the same reason I wore this. No meaning, you know. But Greg is actually from LA and he's a hip hop fan, you know. He must be a creep because clearly there's no blood in those legs.
Nice. So, Evans is pretty short for a black guy, and and he told me that his family was never enslaved because you must be this tall to ride the boat.
But Greg is actually Mexican-American, you know? You can't tell, actually, if you look closely, because he has a white name, Greg. He has a white face, but he's still perfectly folded like a taco.
Evan. Evans, you're a lot like Godzilla. As soon as you landed in Tokyo, you destroyed all their property value.
Speaking of landing, Greg is what you get when a Mexican tries to climb on the wall with no good landing skills.
So, Evan's mother, Evan has a beautiful mother. She used to be a centerfold. You can see her completely naked on National Geographic. But seriously, no. Evan's mom is a pothead. I mean, how is she going to carry her laundry and 13 kids to the well?
One of the reasons I chose to battle Greg because he's a very playful guy, you know. They say never let the child in you die, you know. Never kill the child in you. And Greg is a perfect example of that because at the age of 31, he still can't walk or wipe his own ass.
I like how you didn't use toilet paper like in your native Kenya.
I'm in Japan. I wash my booty hole, mate.
All right, so there it is, the #1 battle this week. Evans Musoka, Greg Roquet. The phrase, I wash my booty hole, mate, will live on in my head forever.
Watching a grown man say booty hole fills me with a lot of joy.
So good.
Yeah, just great. That battle, yeah, I firmly agree with the decision to make this the #1 battle. It was great. Neither one of them had a miss. Neither one of them had a moment that even like lulled, I didn't think. Every joke, just fucking pound for pound. Their comebacks. It was almost like I know they didn't, but it felt almost like they wrote the battle together because their jokes flowed into each other so well. And not in a, okay, why are you talking about the same thing kind of joke?
Right. See, okay, so I agree for the most part, although I feel like it did work against Greg at 100%. The beginning. I feel like for Evans to jump out and hit the feed me for pennies a day, everybody's starving in my native country, and then the roasting a vegetable, and then for Greg to sort of come back, I felt like the steam got took out of his next joke, which was all about feeding him for pennies a day, yeah, and whatever. And I felt like Evans kind of preemptively struck on that one and took some of the impact away from Greg there.
Yeah, I think one of the things I wrote down that I found really interesting, which I think has to do with Evans' strategy to address that right away, was this felt like the first time I've ever seen Greg not be the underdog in a battle. That's
really interesting.
And at least by the audience's perspective. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that struck me.
Speak on that. What do you
I
mean?
feel very uncomfortable because it's the audience that made them that way. And Evans immediately addressing like, my family is starving. You're fucking rich, like white American guy, like, who you broke your back, who gives a shit? You know, like my family is literally starving right now.
So I'll add something to that, and I'm not sure this is how you meant it, but I think this is important context as well. This was the 4th battle of the night, in a night where Los Angeles was up 3-0 on Tokyo.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about underdog, whatever the preconceived notions of the crowd might be based on whatever, country of origin, whatever, the fact that Tokyo was getting shut out, I think made Evans into an even bigger underdog because it's like, damn, clearly like LA is dominating.
Yes, 100%.
So I do feel like he kind of had that effect going in. And I don't think that's why his shit was hitting harder.
No.
I think that Greg, it's weird. Sometimes when you're going edgy, you don't know what's going to work and what's not. And for Greg to do a joke about the slave ship and you must be this tall to ride, that one killed. So it's like you have a crowd that is okay with slavery, but all of the Kenyan-specific things about the mom's in National Geographic, she's the pothead because she needs to have the pot on her head, everything kind of about specifically Kenya did not connect, and the crowd was almost like too far.
It was a lot, and I don't know. I can't speak to Greg's strategy, but I would say that, or I would pose the question that possibly he's given more leniency to say horrible shit, typically, and in this situation, he wasn't.
I think Greg's a dark guy in general. Greg,
it's so funny because like when I talk to him, like he's the sweetest, nicest, like most. And so like that when I see him on stage, I'm like, fuck, dude.
He's very sweet. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met. But he also has a fucked up, warped sense of humor. I've spent enough time with Greg now off stage, and hung out with him enough and texted with him enough to know that like he will say the darkest, most fucked up thing about whatever the situation is. He's very much one of those guys who writes that way and is genuinely very funny, but there is always an inherent risk with that when you say these things. Now, I remember he came to me with a few of these jokes ahead of time and said, what do you think? Is it too dark? And I remembered back to when we watched on this podcast, Evans Musoka, who we just saw, versus Jay Yamaki, both Tokyo guys. And Jay had some sort of joke about Evan's ancestors being hung.
Yeah. I remember that joke.
And do you remember we were both like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Well, I talked to people in Tokyo and who saw that podcast and were like, we were shocked you reacted to that way. It just carried a different cultural significance, and it wasn't about lynching. It wasn't a black thing. It was a historical reference that I didn't quite understand. But I had that fresh in my mind where Greg is like, is this too far? And I'm like, nothing is too far for these people. These people laughed at like a lynching joke. Like, you're good, dude. Say whatever you want. And then turns out maybe I might have steered him wrong on that one. But you know, this tall to ride the boat, crushed. You're like Godzilla because when you came here, you destroyed their property value.
That was hands down my favorite joke.
One of the best written jokes. Absolutely. I've heard in a long time. But Evans was just, everything was connecting. The roasting a vegetable for fun was a great joke, and strategically great placement to do it first. He's a fan of hip hop. He must be a Crip because there's no blood in those legs. He body perfectly folded like a taco.
No meaning for the shoes.
Yeah, no need for the shoes. And then his closer about, you know, the don't let the child die inside you. Greg is 31. He can't walk or wipe his own ass.
Complete with an ass wiping act out.
Yeah. I could have done without the act out. But other than that, great joke. I mean, I just think that Evans was crushing the whole time. Evans is very likable on stage. Evans, I think, won the battle on likability and strategy as much as anything else. His jokes were outstanding. But I feel like if you put them on paper, it's pretty close.
Yeah.
But I definitely think in the room and watching it back, Evans got a well-deserved victory on that one. But it's close. Greg was punching for sure.
100%. Yeah, I think I agree with it, what you just said entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Outstanding event. Really, the fact that this was, you know, the last one that we featured on here just highlights how great that event was. Tokyo, by virtue of this battle, is now up to 25 points in the league, which is second, 1 point behind London. London, which opened up this huge lead. Tokyo has very quickly closed ground. 14 of the 25 points come from sort of...
Yeah, I was like, thanks to us. But no, I'm kidding. Tokyo, I love you.
Tokyo had to set up an environment where the crowd was outstanding for when we went. Yep. They had to have the homegrown battlers in Tokyo who put up a fight against us and put on classic battles. And I want to be really clear, none of the battles and where I placed them, because 2 of them came in number 1, 1 came in number 2, none of that was favoritism. This was very clearly the best battle of this week. And Paige versus Jay was very clearly the best battle of their week. So on the one hand, yeah, did they benefit by sort of like bringing us over? Absolutely. Could other cities benefit by bringing us over? Absolutely. We're really fucking good. We will bring, we'll bring the house down and give you guys some incredible battles. But what it has done now is put them in a position to make the playoffs in this first season. It remains to be seen whether or not they can sustain the momentum over the second half, knowing they don't have another roast fest coming up.
Yep.
Now it's going to be up to the Tokyo guys to take the lead that they have for that second playoff spot and maintain it. And I think that could be tricky.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the battles wouldn't have been good if the Tokyo guys weren't awesome.
Absolutely.
I hope they have the pool there, because I know it is a small comedy scene. So I think that's going to be their biggest challenge, is just finding like new unique battle combinations between their limited talent pool.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. They have their next event coming up in about a week or so.
Yeah.
So it remains to be seen. I think they've made tremendous strides, a lot of great progress out of Tokyo, regardless of whether we ever went over there or not. They've come a long way. Can they hold the lead in the second half of the season? We will find out as we go forward. Call that a cliffhanger. This was a lot of fun. The first week of the second half. November 1st, the season ends. November 7th will be our last regular season RBL Weekly for this year. And then we will get into the playoffs. But a long way to go before then. We will see who takes those spots. Until next time, I'm Pat Barker.
I'm Sarah Keller.
And thank you guys for watching some battles with us. We'll see you in a week.